Hey there, everyone. It's Clay. I want to talk a little bit about the assignment that's coming up in week three. So I'll pull up the schedule for week three. So far we've kind of been talking about grants in a general way, reading some of the introductory chapters from our textbooks. A couple other. Also, we've been reading a couple chapters about genre, which is a concept that I'm hoping we can use. The goal here is that by understanding a little bit about genre and how to understand genres, it can help us better understand the rhetorical situation of the grant. And if you may recall from your composition courses, a rhetorical situation is just a way of thinking about the connection between readers, writers, text, and messages. So whenever we're communicating to certain people, and those people have our audience, our readers have a set of expectations that affect how we communicate our message. So, to give you an example from a study of a high school girl in English class, and she comes home from class, and her parents ask her about what they were doing, and she says, "Well, when I think of it, Gregory was the most offensive character." So she's sort of summarizing what happened in class, or talking about her response to class. So she says right to her parents, "When I think of it, Gregory is the most offensive character." But later, when she's talking to her boyfriend that day, later that night, she says, "What an ass that guy was." So that shift, offensive character, what an ass that guy was, these sort of communicate relationships that we have with our listeners. And when she's talking to her parents, she says, "When I think of it," this phrase that sort of telegraphs that she's maybe a good student, she's reflective, she's paying attention, she's engaged with class. All those things are kind of wrapped up in that phrase. And Gregory is the most offensive character, and she could have used any number of phrases to express that. Gregory was not a good guy. Gregory was an idiot. Gregory was a jerk, a dick. He was a douche. He's an ass, which is ultimately what she says to her boyfriend, and that has its own rhetorical situation. She's got certain purposes as the speaker, and she wants to maybe be identified in a certain way, and so how she communicates that message, that basic message that Gregory is an unsavory character, how she phrases it, the text form that she gives, changes the way that she relates to these other people in the rhetorical situation. So, so genres are a way of helping us understand these situations and how readers and writers come together to do things through text, with text, and so see the genre video that I posted earlier this week. But today what I want to focus on for next week, week 3, is the Project 1 draft, which, the draft is due later this week. And so we're going to do one more reading in Bawarshi, and I'm going to pull that up and point to a couple things. And then we are going to... Actually, no, I think everything we need is in the assignment description. We're going to start by looking at the assignment description. Actually, I'm going to go back to the home screen, which you can find in the home screen so we've got the syllabus and other course materials, the schedule, and then the style and editing portfolio is here, and then down below the genre project. If you click on the genre analysis assignment, you can view the description. Write an essay, minimum 2,000 words, analyzing the grant writing genre using Bawarshi's guidelines for analyzing genres, which I provide below, and it's in the reading for this week, week 3. In order to complete this text, this assignment, you will have to first select an issue that you are interested in, then find at least 3 distinct grant opportunities related to your issue. So we kind of did that a little bit in one of the first discussion assignments for the course, and you can use that same grant opportunity. You can find new ones. It's up to you. Research the foundations providing the grant, look for a website or web presences on social media, and carefully pay attention to any information about the foundation, requirements for proposals, and stipulations for successful applicants on the grant proposal site and or the founder's website. In addition, read the sample proposal in Writing Grants Step by Step and the sample forms in the only grant writing book you'll ever need, which you can find in the appendix. So in the only grant writing book you'll ever need, there's a appendix 4 has sample grant forms, so take a look at that. And in Winning Grants Step by Step, they've got a sample proposal, which is resource A, I guess, at the end of the book. So take a look at that, read those, and include those in your analysis along with what you find about the grant applications by looking at the funders, looking at the call for grants, looking at any social media presence for the foundations that are providing funding. Drawing on both the sample proposal and the grants you've identified above, in addition to your background information for the funder, analyze the genre of grant proposals by using Bowarsky's guidelines below. You may also want to develop your argument analysis by drawing on the chapter from Bowarsky and Rafe, or also the chapter from Bowarsky that we're going to read on genres as activity systems. So here's the guidelines for analyzing genres. 1, collect samples of the genre. So some of those come from the textbooks that I just mentioned. Also, the grant proposals that you are going to find related to the issues that you're interested in. Study the situation of the genre. Look at the setting. Where does the genre appear? You might even talk about what are, the how you find these grant proposals. What are the texts of this genre? Where are the texts of the genre typically located? What medium, context, what other genres does the genre interact with? So like there's, especially in the only grant writing book you'll ever need, there's multiple genres that are related to each other that are all part of this sort of process of getting grant funding. Who uses the grants? Subject, let me back up. What topics is this genre involved with? So you might talk about the specific topic you chose to find grants, but there's obviously a broad range of topics. What issues, ideas, questions, etc. does the genre address? So you might think here in the grant proposal, what sort of topics do you need to discuss in the grant proposal? When people use this genre, what is it that they are interacting about? Participants, who uses the genre? Writers, who writes the text in the genre? Are there multiple writers, etc.? Who reads the text? Are there more than one type of reader? How do they read? What roles do they perform when they read? What characteristics must readers of the genre possess? Under what circumstances must readers read this genre? Motives. When is the genre used? For what occasions? Why is the genre used? Why do writers write this genre, and why do readers read it? What purposes does the genre fulfill for people who use it? 3, identify and describe patterns in the genre's features. So here, you're going to want to look at both the sort of the sample proposals in the 2 textbooks, and then look at the sample calls for grants that you're going to find through your internet research related to your selected topic. And then look at those 2 sets of genres and talk about, what kind of patterns or features you see. What content is typically included. So think here on the call for grants, like, what do they want grant writers to talk about? What topics do they want to include, and why? What kinds of examples are used? What counts as evidence in the grants? What kind of rhetorical appeals are used? So there's 3 rhetorical appeals: ethos, pathos, and logos. Ethos is like an argument that establishes some sort of credibility. Pathos is an argument that appeals to our sense of emotion to persuade people. And logos, where we appeal to logic and reasoning to persuade people. How are the texts in the genre structured? What are their parts? How are they organized? In what format are texts of the genre presented? What layout or appearance is common? How long is a typical text in this genre? And then here, what types of sentences do texts in the genre typically use? How long are they? Are they simple or complex? So here you'll really have to look at the sample proposals in the 2 textbooks. Same with the next one, with what diction is most common. 4, analyze what these patterns reveal about the situation. What do these rhetorical patterns reveal about the genre and the situation in which it is used? Why are these patterns significant? What can you learn about the actions being performed through the genre by observing its language patterns? As you consider these questions, focus on the following. What do participants have to know or believe to understand or appreciate the genre? Who is invited into the genre? Who is excluded? What roles does the genre encourage or discourage? What values, beliefs, goals, and assumptions are revealed through the genre's patterns? How is the subject of the genre treated? What content is considered most important? What content, topics, or details are ignored? And what actions does the genre make possible? What attitude towards readers is implied in the genre? So now your draft, like these guidelines here, you're going to use to sort of develop information to write about in your paper, but you're not necessarily going to have like 1, 2, 3, 4. So develop a paper that talks about these issues and really focuses, to go back to the prompt, on this issue of analyzing the grant writing genre and drawing on Boarshi's guidelines for analyzing genres. Cite examples from the sample proposals in the textbooks or the call for grants that you've researched. Make sure you've got 2,000 words. Discuss at least 3 sample texts from distinct genres in the field. Support your analysis with observations from the grant proposals you've identified, your background research, etc. So the rough draft is due this week, and it's just a rough draft, and that's really going to be the job for the final discussion assignment. Let me go back to the home here. So we're going to read one more chapter on genre for the first half of this week, week 3, which is the Boarshi here, and then there is a reading by Murray called Making Meaning Clear. That'll just help us do some peer review at the end of the week. But other than reading Boarshi, your main job is to draft this assignment, and 2,000 words is the requirement. I guess I'm having trouble opening this. I've got a spotty internet right now, but anyway, you can take a look at the week 3 outline. Let me know if you have any questions, and we'll talk about this project, I'm sure, as we go through the week. So good luck, and hopefully I'll hear from you soon.